Star Wars Rebels Episode 4 Breaking Ranks. Now, the first thing I want to note is that, and if you watch some of my old reviews, or I guess all of my old reviews for this show, I have the episode numbers kind of mixed up. I went back and switched them title wise, but of course, in the video, I say the wrong episode numbers. And that's because they have like a really weird thing where they don't count the Spark of Rebellion as the premiere of the series, even though when it first premiered, they basically just showed the Spark of Rebellion episode. They still don't count that as episode one. It's its own movie, which I guess it makes sense. And then the actual 30-minute episode, starting with Droids in Distress, is episode one. So if you happen to watch those old videos, you notice I changed the titles, but in the actual video, I say a different number. That's why. So from now on, I'll have those correct. And this is actually episode 4. Even when you look it up, though, because unfortunately I didn't get to see it on TV, so I got it online. Even online, it's like people put it as episode 5, but episode 4, Breaking Ranks, is a really great episode. I really love this one. I think my favorite part about it is just the intrigue I have into one of the new characters. And they introduced two, one of which is the guy who actually gets saved at the end, and he's just going to end up hiding with his mother. So I don't expect much out of his character, but the guy that stayed, I'm really excited for them to dive into his story, because when he mentioned the fact that his sister was gone and he thought maybe it's the Inquisitor, it was the first thing that was in my head was like, it would be so cool if his sister came back and she was like a Sith apprentice. And then, in this episode, he basically gets recruited, due to the same thing, because he was one of the people who would make it to the top of the ranks multiple times. So the Inquisitor wants him too. And I'm excited for them to go back into that, because I would love to see a story where someone is actually a good guy who's just trying to find a family member, but they have to fight against turning to the dark side while being taught by a Sith master. And I think that would be an amazing storyline, which they may have done in the books or something, but I've never seen it done in the movies or in like Clone Wars or anything. So I would love for them to dive into that in this series, even though he's not one of the main characters, but considering what they introduced for his character in this episode, it's going to come into play at some point whenever they reintroduce him in this series, which they might save until like season 2 so that they can say, oh, it's been almost a year or something like that, and since this day he was taken under the Inquisitor's wing, and he's been training as a Sith apprentice, but he's basically fighting against the dark side of the Force and trying to remain as a good guy. But certain things as a young kid, you can kind of just get manipulated, especially if you're working under a Sith master, where he's like, okay, I can see this kid is trying to stay as as good as he can. I need to work on that mentally, and I can kind of, I guess, Sith mind trick this kid. And I can't wait for them to bring him back and to kind of tell the story with his sister. Maybe she'll already be a Sith when he finds her, and then that'll be brought into the series as well when they all come to a head against the main characters. But I love this episode, not only for that, but just the simple action we got was really cool. We got to see a lot of Ezra using the Force, like in the very beginning when he went through the well training thing the first time. He knew where stuff was before it was happening, and initially I thought he was just going to get busted because the guy's like, okay, and he used the fake name Morgan. Morgan seems like he's pretty talented, perhaps too talented, and the first thing I thought was he's going to get busted and they're going to be like, you're something special and we need to take you out or something. But it was actually so that he could be recruited by the Inquisitor, which I thought was a really cool premise as well. Like, they find kids who are strong in the ways of the Force and they just don't know it, which is pretty much anyone before they actually are found. So I thought that was a really cool premise too. Like, the Sith just randomly can say like, hey, if you think someone's doing not just good but unbelievably great, let me know, because they might have certain skills that I need to take over for that you guys couldn't fully develop, and we can use this against our enemies as the Empire. We'd have a really huge weapon, even if it's just one more Sith. That's a really big deal, because if you've seen anything Star Wars, you can have like one Jedi or one Sith, and it's like just one of them against like 50 stormtroopers or something like that. It's like nothing to them. So just one extra Sith could be a huge deal for the Empire. So I thought that was a cool premise too, where it's like, if these kids are really great, just let me know and I'll come down and take a look. And see what I can do to mold these kids. So I thought that was cool. Getting to see Ezra use his powers. Getting to see Ezra use his power when he was picking up the little chip. I was just freaking out. Like, is he going to do it? Because we've seen him fail before. And he's still not exactly perfect with it. So, like, I can guess that even in next week's episode, if he uses the Force, there's going to be something that can happen where he's going to be trying to catch something or pick something up. And his focus is just going to get, knocked out of... He's going to be knocked out of focus. And he'll drop it or mess up whatever it is that he's doing. So it was cool to see him succeed in this one, and he didn't get busted. But overall, I think this was a really great episode. We got to meet a new character that introduces a lot of cool things that they could bring. I hope they utilize that character well. I hope we get to see like a really big struggle with him trying to fight against becoming a Sith while training with the Sith, and also figuring out what happened to his sister and all that stuff. I think would be really well done in this series, especially with how well they write these characters. Everyone seems just so normal and just so realistic. I think they could do it really, really well. So I love the introduction of the new character. I like just the main point of this episode. We got to even see the Inquisitor, even though he unfortunately didn't have this cool spinning double-sided lightsaber in this one. He didn't use it, at least. We got to see him in this and learn a bit of a concept that the Empire has, where they look for more kids to turn to the dark side and just get more power against their enemies. So that was really cool. We got to see little bits and pieces of the teams kind of working together. We got the little bit at the end where basically everyone was fighting. We got a cool spaceship, in space battle, which was pretty sweet. We got to see Zeb and Sabine actually come in, and I was really hoping when Zeb was taking out the stormtroopers, I really wanted to see Sabine actually jump over the that transport, like using both her guns. I just wanted to see her like come down, just shooting both people. Unfortunately, she just kind of came down and just like knocked the guy out. But she did shoot the one guy in the head, and it actually looked pretty cool. Like, she just turned it. Like, she didn't even really turn. She just pulled out a gun and just blew the guy away. And I was like, that was pretty cool. But I would have loved to have seen her just jump out and just dual wield, like I guess like Jango Fett, which he does in Clone Wars, which was pretty sweet to me. Just him flying around. I didn't expect her to fly, but it would have been cool to see her just jump out dual wielding or something, and it kind of would have been a sort of Easter egg reference to Boba Fett and how he flies in his jetpack and shoots like that, and how Boba Fett did it more because the tech was better when they did the prequels. But love the episode. Of course, comment below, let me know what you guys thought about it, your favorite parts, your least favorite parts, and what do you guys think about the introduction of this new character? Do you guys have any interest in this story? Do you want to see what happened with his sister, or would you guys prefer to just kind of have like a little moment with him later in the series, and then they just focus on the main characters and don't really bother expanding on his character at all? Comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.